I know you as from Swaziland. I think, but you are because when you call me Swaziland, but you're like, you know. Please tell me your origins from where you started and how you got into the film world.
Okay, so I was born and bred in Nelspruit, which is in Mpumalanga. My father is from Swaziland. My mother is South African Swati. So on my maternal side, during apartheid, my grandfather took his whole family to Swaziland to avoid Bantu education. So that's how my parents met. But then they came to South Africa. So Swaziland, I've never spent like more than, say, 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
On holiday, I'll go, But I'm both. I'm Swati square, I always say. Yeah, I'm Swati on this side and Swati on that side. And my grandparents, my grandfather wrote books. Both textbooks and fictional books. And he made a huge contribution to the development of Swati as a written language.
Okay.
And even as a language itself.
Okay.
And I mean, when I say lots of books, I mean like over 20. And this is someone who was born during the apartheid era in 1928.
Some people have never read more than 20 books in their lifetime.
Right. Oh my gosh, cute. And then my grandmother was also a poet and an educator. Wow. And my parents were educators. So that's the kind of background I come from.
Okay.
Where mastery of your language is very important. So they'd say like your Swati must also be on par with your English.
Okay.
Like you can't know more English than you do Swati.
Wow.
So that's why I hold Swati in such high regard. Like my grandparents wouldn't want you to say like, Naiva slap. Like they didn't want it, like it's a washing rag or what is it in Swati, or to say this is Imir. No, Ilbonza.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Like your vocabulary is important.
The way our Zulu gets over, my mom is from original Natal. She speaks proper Zulu.
Right.
So the orange juice kind of almost became Oro somehow. My sisters speak way better than me, but I totally get what you're saying. So yes, okay.
So I come from educators and wordsmiths. So I think that's why these things are important to me.
And then coming into film?
Storytellers. So growing up, remember there was Mnet?
Yes.
Open time. So
yeah, 5.
Yeah, but I had a deal. That if I get X amount of marks, whatever, I'll get Mnet decoder.
Oh, okay.
And on Mnet, they used to have like a Steven Spielberg week.
Yes.
Or whatever, and they play.
Yes.
You remember that?
I remember, yeah.
That person's body of work. So I was like, no, man. Whatever this is, I want to do that thing.
Okay.
And I was in all the plays, like all the school plays.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it just came naturally to me. And funny, my grandmother went to Wits. So she used to get the newsletter. And in there, I saw Vids TV.
Yes.
And I was like, so you can actually study this. Because we'd watch it on TV. We knew you could study drama. And I mean, I grew up in Nelspruit, so it's not like I was around SAPC or whatever, So that's, the interest grew.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a psychologist at some point, and then a fashion designer and a lawyer. And I think I'm all of those things now. Because directors deal with all that, right?
I agree.
So it marries all these things.
Wow.
But I wanted to get into the box and see what's on the other side. From Kidio days.
So we're Mr. Chinwag.
Mr. Chinwag, I wanted to see his legs. I wanted to see his legs. That would bother me no end, So.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, that is funny. And then you've even worked with an array of cinematographers. How do you choose your shooter?
Sometimes, they choose for you.
Yeah.
Depends, like channel sometimes or the production company. Sometimes you choose yourself. I'll just talk about Lobola, for example. Because we're telling the story through a woman's point of view, it would be good to get a woman cinematographer. Kutlwano Mabusela.
Yeah.
Now, used to be Makhalimela. And Kutlwano happened to be going through Lobola just like me.
Oh, okay.
At the time.
Yeah.
And Kutlwano, it was deeply personal. So, like there were times I remember Kutlwano running my bath water when I'm crying. I couldn't just have anybody infiltrating spaces like in my family, us going to weddings. We just fit it in, like we just dress like the other guests and be very respectful and very small in our corner, because people ask us like, how did you get this content? You know what I mean? Like, why were people so comfortable? It wasn't a space for Aria, Alexas and whatnot. It's just a space for humility and just blending in and making people as comfortable as possible. So it depends on the project. Lindela, I got him. Mdu was working in the Congo. You know, so Mdu has no qualms with climbing on a wall in front of the police.
Doesn't.
Or getting on a tree. Do you know what I mean?
Good brother,
yeah, it just depends on the nature of the project.
Man, that's incredible. So what kind of advice would you give to a young filmmaker who's trying to get their first project, podcast, whatever it may be, they're trying to get it out there? What would you tell them?
I'd tell them the same thing that Spike Lee told me.
Okay.
Just like work your ass off. No, but honestly, do things that you believe in.
Yeah.
Do things, because if you don't, it shows. It's insincere, it's inauthentic. And it's not you. Yes, some people might say, oh, Sihle, you're speaking from a place of privilege.
Yes.
No, the more you say yes to things you're meant to say no to, there's less room for the things you really want to do. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so you kind of have to believe and manifest that you can do certain things, and they'll come to you.
Yeah.
And the more passionate and prepared you are, you know, the more you hone your craft, the more you attract them. And people can see that, no, this really resonates, and this is coming from a deep place. And I also say, like, film is like a marriage. Unless you're doing like something very quick, quick turnaround time, you're going to be married to that project for years.
Okay.
Are you passionate enough to see it through? That's why I say don't do things that don't align with your values. And I'm not speaking from a place of privilege, guys.